How's it going, folks? This is Mustard and Ketchup here once again, bringing you guys a very different kind of video. This is something we said we were going to start doing on the Her Majesty's Council podcast with JTB, Gab Standard and Undead Jim, where what we're going to do is basically each week, on evenings like tonight, every Sunday evening, when we can see that the top 8 is decided for the upcoming week's ESL top 8, which will be broadcast on the Nether on Twitch. As you guys, I'm sure many of you have been following and seeing what's been going on.
Well, look at the title here. We're only in week 2.
Yeah.
So week 1's been done. Obviously, in week 1, Foxy took that. There were some amazing games. It's on the ESL's YouTube channel. If you guys want to look at the archive matches there, we highly recommend it. But we saw a bunch of players come out of the woodwork. Not necessarily like they've only just appeared, but the fact that they've only just started doing ESL with Season 2. So we had players like Storms, Rakamaka. We had Kitoftope as well was there. But we also had some returning guys. But it was a really good week. Foxy took that, but it absolutely wasn't completely free for him.
But following the excitement of week 1, we've decided we're going to start a new kind of a set of videos where we're going to go over the top 8 each week, starting with this week, which is week 2. We're going to look through the top 8, look at their pathing, look at who they're scheduled to be fighting on Wednesday, and kind of give our 2 cents as to how we think the week is going to play out, and sort of basically our predictions on who we think is going to win, who's got the potential to move on, and just in general how we think the matches are going to go when they start on Wednesday evening.
Definitely, because the thing is, it's been an interesting week anyway. A lot of people have gone out early, like even Shuffles there. You can see that Shuffles got, obviously I know it was Foxy, but Shuffles didn't make it that far. Mitsuones actually didn't make it very far. Taco didn't make it particularly far. As far as the further end of the bracket go, and we've seen people kind of come up a little bit. But game 1, we're going to look at the first game and then kind of talk about what's going on. Hopefully the microphone is picking us up okay.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Okay, so first is going to be Foxy Grandpa versus Yuzo RZA. So first things first, Foxy and Use for Glue. Foxy had to defeat Use for Glue to get into top 8, but it actually was a really close set.
It was 2-1 last round.
Almost the final hit, yeah.
Almost like a last hit match.
Use for Glue did actually upload those matches to his YouTube channel, and if anyone wants to see that, we'll link that probably in the description or just as a comment on this video. But that was a crazy set. Foxy almost didn't make it into top 8.
It's criminal how it wasn't a top 8 match. Like that's the sort of set that you kind of think maybe should have been swapped round. So that was top 8, and then but I guess that's just how it goes.
But Foxy, to be honest, we don't need to introduce Foxy, but he's at RZA. He's a French player. He's one of the French guys. He plays, as far as I'm aware, Grandmaster Sub and Hellfire Scorpion, I think. But I've only really seen him play on his stream, and from what I've seen, he's a very solid player. It's kind of hard to call. It's hard to not be biased and say I think Foxy's going to take this purely on matchup knowledge alone, but we're going to quickly look at RZA's path.
Well, let's just have a quick look here. He had to defeat Mitsuones, he defeated K-Top, who we saw make top 8 last week. Apparently it was 2-0 to K-Top and 2-1 against Mitsuones, so he's clearly taken out some of these competent players that we've seen enter ESL, for be it a few weeks, be it an entire season like Mitsuones. But he's got a fight up against Foxy. He told us he was planning on using Grandmaster Sub-Zero, which is a matchup that Foxy is very familiar with. If you guys saw last week, we saw Foxy go up against Taco, and he was just showing very nitty-gritty matchup knowledge against Sub. Punishing close, meterless on block, mid-screen, not even needing to use a reversal for it. Very familiar with the matchup. Now I know Foxy has fought a few Scorpion players in his time. However, I really don't think it's a matchup he's anywhere near as familiar with.
It's kind of interesting there because the way I see this is Hellfire Scorpion is unique to himself with all the run cancels. All it's going to come down to is how knowledgeable is Foxy going to be on the frame data of the run cancels. If it doesn't work out, if RZA gets battered by Foxy when he tries to go Grandmaster, we might see him go Hellfire, which it's like you just said, will probably be a matchup that Foxy's not as familiar with. But honestly, I'm going to have to go with my gut and say I do see Foxy taking this one.
I would agree purely for the fact that Foxy's obviously riding a 7 week long hot streak with these ESL Online weeklies. So with that in mind, and the fact that Yuzu is definitely not a character or player we've seen as much, I would have to say I think Foxy's going to take this in first round.
So let's go into game 2, which is going to be Madzin versus Storm again.
We saw
this in week 1. It didn't particularly work out for Madzin. Mainly because Madzin, he'll say himself he doesn't feel like he played well, but also he actually opted to stick to Blood God and get locked down by Shiro Ryu. he actually knows how to play Sun God. He can play all three variations. He's got War God as well. And he was saying to us that he really felt like he probably should have gone War God just for the armor, just to have something that Storm needed to respect while he was going on the offense. But we'll quickly look through the bracket here. By the way, guys, anyone can look this up. Go to esl.gg/MKX Pro League, and if you navigate on the website, you can actually find this bracket, and you can obviously go check it out for yourself. But to get here, Madsen had to defeat Kane. He had to defeat, is it STB or EMPR Kane?
I'm pretty sure it's Emperor Kane, but regardless, he's been an online player for quite some time. Krathen was the Italian qualifier for Mortal Kombat Cup. He's been doing
Kano
really well.
and Aaron Black, I think.
Kano and Aaron Black are his two guys, and having to beat Blitzgurst 1681. So he did have to beat Krathen and Kane, two very notable players. And then Storm, on the other hand, had to take out I'm Still a Daddy, Nausea, who is a Scottish player who does really well in the Scottish weeklies. Shout
Bobber Grimes as well. Like this wasn't a particularly easy side, because Bobber Grimes as well, having a really, really strong, very underrated tremor. It's just that whenever he gets sent home, it's pretty much always Bobber Grimes being sent home by someone else that's really good.
Well, including week one, including the pre-seasons, whenever I've looked at the bracket and I've seen Bobber Grimes get eliminated, it's always to a player that does really well and ends up either winning or getting top 4 in these weeklies. So he definitely seems to be getting the short end of the stick in terms of bracket placement.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see Bobber Grimes in at least a couple of these top 8, because it's crystalline as well, mainly crystalline when we see him play. And obviously he had to take out I'm Still a Daddy. Doesn't really play the game that much.
I've definitely not seen him as much.
I've always got a lot of respect for Daddy's mindset to basically just play in loads of games, because he's a Street Fighter guy, but I love the fact that I'm Still the Daddy tries out loads of games, but he's been keeping up with it, so huge shouts to him.
The question is, how is this set going to go? Because Madsen versus Storm, these guys play all the time, but I kind of feel that last week Madsen, he did lose quite significantly to Storm, but I kind of feel like his execution lost it for him more than just getting flat out outplayed. Almost one of those sets that he almost lost it for himself first.
Well, when he went to Grandmaster and he dropped that jump in, you can tell he's flustered. Madsen is a player that can get a little bit flustered sometimes, so it's kind of like the one thing you can hope for, really. I mean, it's almost perfect that Madsen has the run back, because he knows what he needs to do. He needs to tighten up his execution and not be afraid to either change variation or, to be honest, I doubt we'll actually see his Blood God from the get-go. He might go for War God immediately, or even Grandmaster immediately, but I don't think there's any denying that Storm's going to go Shiro Ryu again. It's pretty much the only character he plays, but that's all he needs.
Well, I would think that if they're both playing at their absolute best, especially because it's week 2, I think I would like to see Madsen take this set, purely for the fact that the winner of this has to go and fight Foxy in round 2. If our predictions are correct, obviously if we see it go the other way,
that's what upsets are for.
Yeah, exactly. If it goes the other way and Yuzu RZA manages to take out Foxy, Foxy is a common training partner for Madsen and Storm. So if they see Foxy lose to this guy immediately, they're going to think, uh-oh, whichever one of us wins has to then fight the guy that Foxy couldn't beat, and then that's going to be, a big scope for some big upsets, because, if we see Foxy's 7-week-long hot streak end in week 2, then that's going to set, quite an unpredictable spell for the rest of the season.
Yeah, honestly, I think, personally, Madsen or Storm, it depends on how they play on the day. Storm could take it purely because he's more familiar, they've played already, and Storm has been playing.
But who do you think is going to win?
I honestly think that Storm could still take it over Madsen, purely on the fact that Shiro Ryu does well versus Kokan.
And Grandmaster, because obviously the clones aren't anywhere near.
I just feel like Takeda does a good job against both characters that Madsen plays.
Okay, cool. So, first thing we'll probably split on in quite some time, but we'll move on. I guess, that's another thing we can talk about once the broadcast begins on Wednesday.
Well, like I say, it's 60% Storm, 40% Madsen, as far as I'm concerned.
This third top 8 match is one I want to see. It's going to be Rampage Lex versus Undead Jim. I want to watch this for Undead Jim, because this guy is regularly, considered to be one of the better European players, in general, from those that have seen him play in person, offline, at tournaments. So this guy has a good offline record against some of the best that the UK has to offer. Jim hasn't had the opportunity to travel around Europe. He's very much just a UK player. But I think his record online, he's very much gotten himself used to playing on Xbox Live.
He's adapting to it for ESL.
Adapt for ESL. But he's against Rampage Lex, who is it's a name I saw pop up quite frequently during, I guess a lot of general MKX online play. Rampage Lex has been playing this game for quite some time. So I think this is One that I think is going to be very hard to predict because, we all know how good Undead Jim is, but Rampage Lex, to be here.
Let's look at his path.
Yeah, let's look at his path and we'll have a look.
So
Taco, that was the name I was looking for. He defeated Taco to be here. Taco is a veteran of the ESL Online League,
and he's a very consistent top 8 player. Almost every week we saw Taco in the top 8, which is going down. So congratulations to him for taking out Taco and getting that far. But if we look at, and he took out Deacons as well. Actually, Deacons, as far as I know, is a UK player, Sub-Zero player. So it's good to see him still keeping up with the game. But he did get taken out by Rampage.
So many Sub-Zeros in Europe.
We do.
We have so many.
But Undead Jim, Mad Props, Aquari, and Master VHD. And is that
wow? No, literally every single person Undead Jim defeated to make top 8 is a name I recognise from the online league. Mad Props, we saw him a bunch last time. Mr. Aquari, saw him a bunch last time. Master VHD
went to season 1 finals. He went to season 1 finals.
Has always entered. Like every single player that Undead Jim beat, was a regular competitor in the ESL Online League.
Not a free bracket for him at all.
I would argue that's probably the hardest path that I've seen so far of anyone in top 8.
But we know that he plays Tremor and Jax.
And still Bone Chipper shit up.
A little bit of Bone Chipper.
He says he likes that for certain matchup.
But I really like his Jax. I'd like to see his Jax in ESL because I really feel like the presence of a European Jax isn't particularly strong currently in ESL. There are European Jax players, but none of which, that I guess hold it together. That's the biggest problem, a matter of actually holding it together. It's mostly we would see them fight Foxy and then just kind of be smothered because they're so big.
But then on that exact point,
I was just about to say, we know that Undead Jim, for those that probably don't know, Undead Jim consistently beats Foxy online. Not that he dominates Foxy, but it's definitely when they have a set, it's not complete destruction. Undead Jim can beat Foxy.
I've definitely seen his Jax beat Foxy more than Foxy's beat his Jax online. And that is something that I will confidently say is something that I've not seen for quite some time, is anyone take games as consistently on Foxy as Jim with his Jax. So hopefully we see him get through.
To be honest, I really think Undead Jim can pull this through. I know he does not like playing online. That's going to be a hindrance for him, but I know he's from the UK and it's going to sound incredibly biased, but I know how good Jim is, and if he plays well, he can beat Foxy. If he can beat Foxy online, he can beat any one of these guys online.
That's what I mean. Like it's less of a knock at Rampage Lex because I'm sure he's a decent player, but it's more a fact that we know that Jim is capable of beating any player on the planet. In my opinion, I think he is just that fundamentally solid. He's capable of beating absolutely anyone. I don't think that if Jim is playing at his best, almost anyone can hold him back because his character pool is amazing.
He covers a lot of matchups.
It covers everything.
Tremor, Bone Shaper, and Jax. That's not a bad character pool. But so that's going to be game 3. So we're going to go into game 4.
This one is going to be interesting because it sees the return. I'm sure you guys are very excited for Zarakamaka, but he's against Derpy Mosquito.
Is Derpy Mosquito actually from the UK?
I assume he is, but Derpy Mosquito is a very capable online Tanya player, right? We've seen him play a bunch. Very, very fundamentally sound with Tanya specifically. But he's got to come up against Zarakamaka, who was, many players MVP of Week 1 for EU.
Well, let's not forget, Storm and Zarakamaka's set was so good, it made its way onto Kotaku. Shout outs to Kotaku for sharing that set. They gave us an amazing showing, and that was his first week. But we're going to look at the path first. So we're going to see Derpy Mosquito took out JTB, a UK, Jesus Christ, a UK Scorpion player, a Hellfire Scorpion.
No, JTB from Majesty's Council.
The podcast man.
Mr. Podcast.
So we have YP Falcon as well. That no doubt, I think that would have been a Tanya mirror, definitely. That would have been a Tanya mirror. And Salty McAdee. So he took out 2 UK guys, and Salty, we saw him in week 1 of ESL, the French. He played Jax first and then went to Hishkatan, didn't he?
So if he'd have beat Derpy, it would have been a repeat of last week. It would have been Zarakamaka versus Salty again.
But let's look at Zarakamaka. Let's look at his path. So he's take out Ricky the God.
Caniper and Pro Stunner.
Exactly, that's what I was about to say. Caniper and Pro Stunner. So Caniper, we know that he was a really, really solid Shinnok player in Season 1. And that Pro Stunner, who got 1 game away from top 8. It just seems like he keeps finding himself.
Pro Stunner gets closer each week. He got 2nd place in the 2nd pre-season.
He's a good player. He
went out quite early last week because I believe he had to fight. Taco
took out Stunner, I believe.
Yeah, Taco last week. But this week, 1 game away from top 8. But Mosquito versus Zarakamaka, I know that something that Tanya players do not like are characters with good, quick interrupts.
Tanya doesn't like armor that can go through their offense, And Tanya players also don't like
They don't like if that armor is safe.
They don't like characters that can lock them down either. So it's kind of like, it's interesting here because Liu Kang versus Tanya, they can pretty much do the same thing to each other. They can lock each other down with pressure. However, Liu Kang has got the armored reversals to interrupt or even punish those delayed wreckers that she can do. So she has the tools to get away with that. But also the fact that Zarakamaka will be able to armor break Mosquito, but at the same time, I'm fairly certain.
I don't think she can do the same to him. I really don't.
Do you think the meter burn? Do you think the flying kick starts up too quick?
I don't really know. I mean, I don't think it's even an option that Tanya players will go to as often as a way out from Liu Kang. I think it's more just going to be a case of Tanya's going to have to respect his offense way more than he's going to have to respect hers.
She has got a small hitbox,
but that is true. But I think also we could quite easily see Zarakamaka go Flame Fist here.
Yeah,
and
we do know he can play
go
Flame
for those
Fist.
projectile trades, which Tanya, she has got a good projectile, but
he low profiles with the low shot.
Yeah, like low. I'm sure he has low fireball and Flame Fist, right?
Oh, he has low fireball in every variation.
So Flame Fist buffed low fireball is going to
Flame Fist gives
really
him,
win that trade.
Flame Fist gives him the one that low profiles. Mm-hmm. So it's I don't think he's pulled a bad straw there. Mosquito versus Zarakamaka.
But at the same time, we know Mosquito is a good player and could very on just the way he fundamentally plays Tanya alone could definitely take out decent players.
It could be a good match. It really could be a good match. I don't know how much Tanya experience Zarakamaka is going to have. Mosquito, again, I don't know how much Liu Kang experience he's going to have, especially a Liu Kang. Like, there are Liu Kangs, but then there are Liu Kangs like Zarakamaka that absolutely thrive on those run cancels, which not everyone is actually well versed in online because it's very execution heavy. So I'm going to have to go with Zarakamaka. He was just so insanely dominant in week 1. And he plays a character like Liu Kang that people still aren't ready for. They acknowledge the problem, they know the kind of stuff that he can do, but at the same time I really think that Zarakamaka is going to he could very much just lock down Mosquito. The armor that Mosquito will have to do on a read to interrupt is going to be unsafe as well, apart from the standing one. So the reversal that's going to give Mosquito the full combo will be totally punishable if he reads it.
Well, I guess that takes us to the end of round 1 of the bracket. I mean, it's going to be quite hard for us to predict the rest of the matches. Almost,
we don't know who's going to win these matches.
There's not really a lot of point to us doing anything prediction-wise beyond top 8.
We could do a dream-style bracket on how exactly we think it's going to go, but honestly, I don't think it's necessary. I think these first matches, we'll go over those, talk about who we think is going to take it, but obviously we could be wrong. These guys are in top 8 for a reason. Anybody can beat anybody. It's just going to be harder for people to take out Foxy, purely because of how much of a rampage he's been on. But that's what I'm excited for Zarakamaka, because he's had a week to go over it. He can do. If for whatever reason he got nervous, he's going to have a week to sit on that and understand, what he needs to do to really kind of combat that, I suppose.
Well, with that said, guys, that basically wraps us up for I guess episode 1 of this series of videos that we'll be doing. As always, let us know what you guys think in the comments. If you want to see more, obviously we've started off this week with just EU, as that's kind of our domain. But if you guys would like to see us do predictions for the CIS region, for North America, then please let us know. We'll be more than happy to.
I'd happily do this for North America if you guys want to see it.
Yeah, this is just a case of we are the most familiar with the European players. But that said, we watch CIS and North America every week. We have done ever since the beginning of the ESL. Most of the players, obviously, we knew about way before this ESL business even started. But if it's something you guys want to see us do, obviously, we see the prediction system being quite popular and quite common in the ESL streams. And if you want to watch these to help give yourself maybe...
These are our predictions.
Yeah, these are our predictions. So if you don't necessarily know who players are, maybe you can go by our predictions and help your predictions thusly.
Hey, we'll help you guys secure some free swag if they do prediction points again.
Or we can be wrong every week and then you guys have someone to blame should your predictions be wrong. But whatever, that might happen, it might not, who knows.
Alright, so that's that, guys. This is actually the last day we're going to be in this hotel. So we're actually going to be able to... we're going to be moving into our apartment tomorrow. Hopefully the internet will be better and we should be able to stream and do more constant content with a bit more editing too. So this is the last day we're going to be doing these kind of budget videos, I guess you could call them. But that's it. Cheers for watching, guys. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe. Let us know what you think of this. We'll see you next time and take care.